Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Carshénah with versefilmsproductions, and we are doing a lot more horror reviews this year, and we're so excited. Thank you so much for joining in. If you don't mind, hit that like, subscribe, and share button for the year. That would make me so happy if you did. But let's go ahead and get started with our David Lynch classic, ERASERHEAD. Let's get started. Well, what can we say about ERASERHEAD? ERASERHEAD, I mean, you think about pencils, you think about erasers, you think about like maybe childhood trauma where you may have been writing and then like your pencil broke and it stabbed you or I don't know. Anyway, guys, welcome back to the channel again. I'm Carshénah with versefilmsproductions, and we're talking David Lynch. That's right. The surreal daddy of them all, who by some interpretation, it's all of what you make of his films. But being the director of Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, DUNE, hello, let's talk about DUNE. We also have ERASERHEAD, which is his first cinematic debut in 1977. And actually, ERASERHEAD, some fun facts, he was contemplating leaving film school before he got ERASERHEAD generously funded for his project. And of course, AFI, the American Film Institute, was like, yeah, this is pretentious and this is a no-go. But he had some friends in high places that allowed him to go ahead and get it ready to go, get it funded. And we have ERASERHEAD to this day. So a little bit about ERASERHEAD. So you have a guy named Henry. He is sort of a factory worker in this dystopian sort of industrial looking area, and his hair is like an eraser. I mean, it's like a high top, it's like a fade. I mean, you know, and for a white guy, he pulls it off pretty good. That's right, I'm seeing you pretty fly for a white guy, and it's actually awesome and spectacular. So let's go ahead and get right into the movies. First of all, it's streaming right now on HBO Max. So if you want to take a look at ERASERHEAD, you can go ahead and do so. So the opening to me reminds me of like a bad art house student film. It is in black and white, so it's different. And it's cool. And think about this is in the 1970s where there was like hippies and all colorful peace signs and love. And he's going down the ship with a black and white art piece. So there you go. So ERASERHEAD is in black and white. So do not adjust your TV screen. And it's also reminiscent to the opening of Mystery Science Theater 3000, you know, with the big rock and they come in. It's got this view. I don't know. I mean, this is pre-Mystery Science 3000, but it kind of reminds you of it, which is actually pretty cool if you're a nerd like me. But that is basically the opening scene. This is David Lynch's first cinematic debut before he was contemplating leaving AFI out there in LA. And I have visited AFI, the American Film Institute, so shout out to the wonderful directors, producers, and all the staff out there at AFI. It is a great school, so go check them out. No, I'm not getting sponsored, but just letting you know, it's a great place to go. Then it gives you this sort of like this Dune vibe, like the spacing guild, you know, like the big worm, big perm, the big worm that comes in for the spacing guild and, you know, folds, you know, space and time for Dune. Now, this is pre-Dune. I just wanted to say this is pre-Dune for special effects. And of course, since he directed Dune, this I can see how he got this. But again, this has got this whole Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's got this pre-Dune spacing guild worm flying in. And this is happening for the first 6.5 minutes. That is right. 6.5 minutes. There are no words. It's just all action. So This is like a theater of the surreal going on right before your eyes, and you're just watching him walk, watching him in sort of this industrial area. And again, 6.5 minutes into this black hole that we see. And then all of a sudden we see this close-up of the first character, which is Henry, which is the main character. So we see Henry in all of his Eraserhead glory for his hair. And it's pretty awesome. It's one of those weird things where you're seeing somebody walk, you're seeing this sort of like, I'm going through space and time, lost in space. And then all of a sudden, boom, it cuts into this huge close-up of this big high top fade. And you're just going, okay, I see where this is going. Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, that's what happens with this film. I'm going to read just a couple of notes for you guys so that way I can be centered and steady when I go on this course of craziness, because yeah, you do need a straitjacket to watch this film. You just hear like clanks and sounds in the distance. So as he's walking through this factory, all you're hearing is clanks and sounds. Clank, 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 clank. But it does give you this feel of being cold, being distant, and of course just being like a worker bee because you're in an industrial sort of factory. This is the theater of the absurd. One of the things that we see after those clanks and sounds, it takes another 6 minutes for you to actually have someone speak, and that's his neighbor. And his neighbor is like, oh, you got a phone call. Are you Henry? You've got a phone call. This girl named Mary, she wants you to meet her at her house for dinner. And, you know, he's got these like sort of like mealy mouth sort of like looks like, oh no, he's like a nervous guy. He's like a really nervous guy. And that's what you see of Henry. So when this like gorgeous, sexy neighbor tells him that he's got to go over to Mary's house, he kind of feels like, oh yeah, I've got a girlfriend, sorry. And that's about it. But it takes another 6 minutes for us to get there. So if you're following with me, it's 6.5 minutes of him just walking in this sort of factory with clanks and sounds and this sort of like spacing guild going on. Then it takes 6 minutes for them to actually speak. And then it takes like almost like another 6 minutes for him to walk to Mary's house. And it's hilarious because you hear these dogs barking and then like he just gets really scared and then he waits there for like a minute or two and then he starts walking. I don't know about you, but if I heard some dogs barking at like 9 at night, you know, and they're all like doing their thing, I would start running. I wouldn't just stop hammer time and then like wait for it. I would just go ahead and start walking, but I digress. So he gets to Mary's house. He's trudging along. I don't know. It's just really weird. You see Mary's waiting at the door. She's bringing him in. Then you see her mom is sitting like in this chair. And then you see Mary. It's kind of like, I don't know, like a 1950s date where you have like the mom on the side or the parents on the side and the guy comes in, you know, like, hi, Mary. Oh, hi, Henry. You know, with the letter, the jacket, you know, she's dressed up. He's got like his little suit and it's just very cute. It's just very cute, very mod, very cute. But then it turns to the direction of you hear this like this sucking sound. And you're like, what is this new clanking sound that's going on with David Lynch? David Lynch loves to do the theater of the absurd, but he loves to do the theater of sound. And you turn, or the camera turns, and you see this dog with 6 puppies sucking at the mom's teat. And it's like, what? So you've got like this 1950s date, and then like the camera turns to these 6 puppies sucking at the teat of their mom. And it's, I don't know, but it's weird and it's surreal. And then another weird part is Mary starts acting like the dog. She starts getting this tick. She starts scratching herself. And then her mom takes a brush and starts brushing Mary. And Mary goes, like this. And I don't understand. Like, it's like, okay, I get it. An interpretation of that. Then the dad comes in and he starts giving it the what for? Like, I've been here. I've been doing these pipes ever since, you know, the neighborhood. And they're like, calm down, calm down, kid, calm down. So he calms down and he's like, oh, dinner's almost ready. You see the dad go in and like the little small little oven, and he's like basting these like little Cornish hens. I mean, they're really small, like little Cornish hens or chickens or how, I mean, I think they're Cornish hens. Let's just put it that way. And he's taking this big baster and he's sucking up all the juice and just like squirt, suck, squirt. So, I mean, it's just really funny. So he takes the Cornish hens, they're having dinner, and then all of a sudden the Cornish hens are like the smallest thing ever. But the dad gives him the honor of carving the chickens. And Henry's like, do I carve it like a regular chicken, like a normal sized chicken? He's like, yeah, you carve it like that. So he takes this giant knife, which is bigger than life, you know, for the Cornish hen, to cut open the chicken. And then when he cuts it open, blood starts to come out. And the mom just loses it. Like, she's like, blood. It's weird. It's just weird. But it is hilarious to see everyone's reaction to this carving of these chickens or this one hen. And it's just really funny. So the mom leaves, she comes back, and then all of a sudden, that's when like the dad has like this plastic smile on his face. Like he's, I mean, it's like a Soundgarden video. I mean, God rest his very soul, Chris Cornell, but it's like a Soundgarden video for Black Hole Sun, where you see like the fake people are like this, and they're just like, oh my God, I got a cement face, you know, and it's just really surreal. And his dad is staring at him with this face. I mean, I can't even do it. I just really can't do it. But his dad just smiles at him the whole time. Then the mom takes him sort of like in this corner, and she's like, did you have sex with Mary? And he's like, I don't want to talk about this. Did you have sex with Mary? I don't want to give you that information. But the mom gets sort of turned on by that, like about the information, whether he gives it or gets it or whatever he does with it. But then the mom starts like kissing on him, and then Mary's like, mother, you know, that type deal. And then the mom goes, anyway, when you guys get married, you can pick up your baby at the hospital. He's like, what? I mean, literally, he's like, what? Like, the mom just all of a sudden says, when you get married, you can go pick up your baby at the hospital. Then Mary starts to break down and cry like, ah. Because why? The baby they don't even know has like, I don't know if it's, well, you just got to go watch it. It's just really funny. Speaking of, the next scene that you see is Mary, and she's feeding this creature. Now, this creature is the baby. It looks more like E.T. Like, it's not even like a baby face. It's got like these like sort of alien, like a big, I don't know, cylindrical like alien head, and it's just crying, and she's trying to spoon feed this baby with baby food, and she gets frustrated. Henry comes home and he's just like, I think I'm leaving this situation, but he stays. The baby cries like all night. Oh yeah, by the way, the baby doesn't have any limbs. It's just swaddled like this. I mean, just swaddled, and it's just like, and it like cries all night, which is another thing that's hilarious. Next thing you know, Mary, being the frustrated, like, oh yeah, and they're married already, obviously, because they're sleeping in the same bed. Mary, all of a sudden, frustratingly, goes into the bathroom, quick one scene, changes. She grabs her suitcase and she's like, I can't take it anymore. Ah, basically. And so when she leaves Henry with the baby, and she's going back to her parents' house. Now, this deformity of a baby is just, I don't know, just an interpretation of the mind of what David Lynch might have been going through. The impending doom of fatherhood, the impending fear of what is going on, you know, with, I've got a new baby in the house. I don't know how to act to this new creature, this new thing, and it's just crying all night. So shout out to you young dads and young moms out there who, yeah, have lived that life, and you don't know what's going on when you bring a baby home, and you just don't know what that creature is. But Henry, he starts to take a liking to the baby. I mean, it's his, and he's like, I'm gonna take responsibility for it. So kudos to you, Henry, for that. Now, it jumps around in this scene, and the next thing you know, we see that one scene, the baby just, again, will not shut up. So Henry takes a thermometer, sticks it in the baby's mouth to check it, and the baby is fine. It's all clear. He takes the thermometer out, he turns around, turns back, and then the baby like explodes with like chicken pox, like all over his face. And the best scene, or the best line he says is, "You are sick." I mean, this movie is just so much fun. And it's funny. It's like a comedy. It's a black comedy per se. So the baby is sick. It's got chicken pox all over its like creature face. It's like oozing out pus everywhere. And it's horrific in that sense. It goes down the scene, and there's this radiator lady. So whenever Henry goes to sleep, he stares into this radiator, and this like cake lady, like she's caked up, she's got this like face, and it's just weird. But she starts to singing to Henry, and Henry, like sort of lulls to sleep and everything. And so that is like the main thing. So wait, hold on, let me just get you here. Yeah, the radiator cake girl, and she sings a song, "In heaven, everything is fine." So in heaven, everything is fine. I mean, that's not the right one because I don't want to get a copyright strike. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the name of the title. In heaven, everything is fine. And so I don't see how, because Henry is just crazed and just weird, and it's just so much. And then the thing about it is that because of his hair, you see like these hair shavings everywhere. And it's like this pile and pile of hair shavings, like on his dresser, like on the floor. It's just so funny. I don't know if that's like a comfort to him, but it's, I guess, your interpretation of that's him shedding some weight, or shedding, his life for, I guess, his adult life, because there's a lot of hair. And Henry has got to be at least in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. I mean, the way he looks. I mean, the actor Jack Nance, shout out to you for doing that. He actually is a really good actor to do this. There were some contentions at first for Jack Nance doing this. And Charlotte Stewart plays the character of Mary. But when he agreed to do this film, Jack Nance was like king of the crop, So, I mean, it's one of those things where you gotta find the right actor to do this. So, moving on from the radiator, the idea of Eraserhead going into this new phase in life, I think, is one of the many interpretations that you can think of Eraserhead. And it ends up where he like has like this moment, the baby again is still crying. I mean, his baby just won't shut up. And then sort of like Mary's left, the sexy neighbor, knocks on the door, and she's like, "Where's your wife?" So she already knows. And he's like, "I don't know where she is. I think she's at her parents' house. Like, she went home." Like, as if like it's a roundabout, like, I don't know where she at. They start kissing, they start making out, but then like the baby cries, and he's trying to suffocate the baby. He's trying to suffocate it. So they shut up. So, I mean, I think one of the main interpretations that you can think about this movie is fear of fatherhood, fear of growing up, fear of relationships, and just the fear of living day to day. I mean, you're struggling in this factory job, and now you've got this baby, you've got this wife, you got all this stuff. And I think that's probably some interpretation of it. And he makes it into this pretentious 1.5 hour, 1 hour and 29-minute film of this nightmare from his dreams. Now, let me just go over some fun facts and some things that you may or may not have known about Eraserhead. So give me a moment. I'm going to read them to you. The idea from the idea for Eraserhead was from a dream he had about a boy carrying a head to a pencil factory, and that's exactly what plays out in the film. So in the film, you see that, and he's carrying like Henry's head in his like arm, and he pops into like this machine, and all these pencils with erasers come popping out, and the guy goes, "Yep, checks out," you know, as if like, "Yep, that's good." So really weird. So Eraserhead, fun fact number one is that it did come from David Lynch's dream of a boy carrying a head into a pencil factory, popping out erasers, or pencils, I should say. Fact number two, it was also similar to just like Kafka's Metamorphosis, where, of course, as you know, a salesman is turned into an insect, and, you know, he can't find his way out. Well, this is also one of the inspirations, along with another sort of Russian film called The Nose. And then he also randomly was flipping through the Bible, found a passage, and this is also part of some of the scenes that he directed here in the movie. Now, David Lynch has said that he's forgotten which passage it was, he's forgotten where it was, but it was part of a Bible passage to have this inspiration for Eraserhead. Fact number three, David Lynch's own daughter Jennifer was born with clubbed feet. And of course, her conception was a surprise. So again, this could have been interpreted as, yes, the fear of fatherhood, because in his own life for David Lynch, I think this also played in this sort of abnormal baby that we see in the film. So that is fact number three. Fact number four, the film got made by generous donations. Now, hear me out, generous donations, because as a student film, you're not going to get anyone to fund your stuff unless you do it on your own. That's just reality, right? Even if you're at the school may provide a place for you to film. It may provide crews, or may provide you a way where you can ask your fellow classmates, but it's not going to provide the actual funding for you. So the generous donations were done by Jack Fisk and his wife, Sissy Spacek. And this was done right before Sissy got cast for Carrie. I knew I was going to put this in and to intertwine this with some type of horror film. But yes, so Jack Fisk and his wife, Sissy Spacek, helped donate for this film to get made. And this was right before Carrie came out. So again, this was like your 70s horror back in the day, and Carrie became a box office hit. So that generous donation, kudos to them. As well as Jack Nance's own wife, his real life wife, was doing a waitressing job, and she donated her salary every week to help get this production funded. So shout out to your main actor, significant other, wife, husband, whoever has the job to help you with production. Kudos to you. Now, fun fact number five. No other haircut was like this in the 1970s. Remember, the 70s was all like hippie and love and peace, man, and long hair. And then all of a sudden, Henry comes out as the character with the razor head with this like sort of high top fade, and everybody was like gawking at it. They thought, man, that's just too weird. Because from hippie time, it went straight to, that's early 70s. It went straight to late 70s where it was punk, and then it was disco. So it was like, where did this hairstyle come from? But it was one of the main attractions for this film. Fun fact again, 1977 was the year of Star Wars. So Star Wars being the big conglomerate that it was, and conglomerate that it is today, it wasn't back then so much as I recall, but it was something brand new and it was something cool. Everybody wanted to go see Star Wars. Even George Lucas saw Eraserhead and thought it was one of the best films he's ever seen. George Lucas himself was so impressed with Eraserhead that he offered David Lynch a shot at directing Return of the Jedi. Who knew? Right. So George Lucas was an Eraserhead cult cultists, I should say. And that was another fun fact. Eraserhead picked up a lot of steam because they were showing them at the midnight movie theater. Now, midnight movie is such a term back in the 70s, 80s, like a cult thing, where only a certain number of movies were only seen at midnight, such as Rocky Horror Picture Show. So Eraserhead was picking up steam, word of mouth, to go see it at the midnight movie theater. And I don't know what George was doing at midnight, but he saw Eraserhead and he liked it so much that he offered him a job. Thankfully, David Lynch didn't take the job, but it would have been, or it could have been, something different. Now, it does score 90% on Rotten Tomatoes as of this day, and that is such a coveted title to earn so much on Rotten Tomatoes. So kudos to you, David Lynch, for having this vision from the 70s up until now. Also, another fun fact about Eraserhead, let me read this to you, was that originally it was 2 hours long, but then it got cut down to the hour and 29 minutes that we see it today. Older VHS will have the extra 20 minutes that was cut out added back in. So if you have an original Eraserhead, try to find all the little extra stuff that David Lynch had. Also, this movie has been put inside of the United States Film Registry for being historically, culturally, and aesthetically significant as a film. So David Lynch, here's looking at you for getting Eraserhead into the United States Film Registry for such a coveted role. Thanks everyone for watching this horror review of our 1977 David Lynch cult classic, Eraserhead. I'm Carshénah with Verse Films Productions, and I hope to see you at the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and hit those notification bells. I will be doing more horror reviews for the year 2022, and I hope to see you there. Take care.